Hi there, welcome back to my channel. I hope you had a wonderful day today, whatever you were doing. This is part two to the seven fractured identities. I told you a little bit about my story of how I had a breakdown, but it ended up being the best thing that could ever happen to me. And now what I do in life, and it's my passion, is I help women primarily, but I also work with men break toxic cycles and patterns that have kept them from living their authentic life. So click the link in bio for more information. But today we are going to talk about the seven fractured identities. And like I said in my previous video, I lived majority of my life from those fractured places. I've always coached, I've always mentored, I've always counseled. But it wasn't until I had the breakdown that I was able to have a breakthrough and create this framework that has really helped so many women, including myself, stop the toxic cycles and patterns and become unstuck. So, one of the fractured identities I first want to share with you is the people pleasing identity. And I believe that majority of the women struggle with this because society teaches us that we always have to be go with the flow, right? We It's not good for us to set boundaries necessarily, or be we want to be well received and well recepted, receptive. That we have to present a certain way, right? But if that is not who we truly are, right, it's going to hinder us more than help us. So maybe you're on here and you're thinking, Jennifer, I tried to be the perfect wife. I tried to be the perfect mother. I did everything right. I did everything that they told me to do, but it still didn't work out. I'm getting a divorce, or my children hate you. All of this, right? I encourage you to stay around so we can talk about how people pleasing is actually a form of self rejection, and the other identities can actually be a hindrance to you more than helping you. Again, what we learned to survive in situations is now keeping us from thriving as an adult. 70% of adults are walking around from a trauma formed identity. And that identity was formed between in utero to the age of 7 when your subconscious mind is fully developed. So, however, whatever happened to you, whether good or bad, from that moment on, that old wiring system where we live from 95% of our subconscious mind was fully formed and programmed. And that's how you see the world, interpret the world, receive love, and give love. If you continued on this channel, I will be talking to you about mother and father wounds, and how they can dictate how you give love and receive love, right? So the people pleasing, you are believing that your worth and your value um, is how useful you are to others. So you have made that your identity, right? You say yes when you mean to say no. It's very hard for you to set healthy boundaries. You never want to feel like you disappointed anybody. You always want to be, thought of as well. That's very stressful. I remember there was a time when I thought I disappointed someone just because I said no. And it's like I couldn't get out of bed for a whole week. I was grieving the fact that I had to tell them no, right? And what we fail to realize if we struggle with people pleasing is people can read us like a book, right? They will keep pressuring us maybe to do things because they know they could take advantage. All the while, we are silently resenting them. They make you feel guilty, and we're silently becoming bitter. And what that does to your body, it forms bitterness and hardness, and you're holding on to that stress and unforgiveness. And then diseases form, right? Tumors form, cancers form, right? It's because you are people pleasing is a form of self rejection. So you're not putting yourself first, and your body knows it, right? Another identity that I wanted to share with you is um, the validation seeking identity. I'm just looking at my notes down here. If you struggle with the validation seeking identity, pick me, or what do you think about me, or am I enough? I find my value and worth in what you say about me. You need someone else to confirm what you already know, right? So it's really hard for you to walk strong and independent because you're so insecure, right? The root of that is insecurity and rejection and fear. So you need everybody to approve of you. You need everyone's opinion on something. You can't stand alone and make your own decision and opinion. You kind of follow the crowd if this is something that you struggle with because you don't want confrontation. But the motive of it is to be validated, right? So maybe do that at work. Maybe you do that in friendships and relationships, but you know in your mind and your heart that that's not what you want to go along with, right? Another one is the performer, the performance identity. You're high achieving, you're overachieving. For me, I was working about 50, 60 hours a week for companies, and no one told me to do that, right? But Jennifer felt like she needed to do that to prove her worth and her value. Why? Because as a child, I learned I have to work hard for the love, right? I have to prove my worth and value. I found that because I was the performer as well, I would over apologize for things that weren't even my fault. I would yeah, I would just perform for love. I felt like I had to be on so many things and everywhere all at the same time to prove that I'm good at my job when I know I'm good at my job, right? But what happened was is that I was overcommitting. I was extremely exhausted. Had a lot of health issues because of that. Couldn't enjoy my weekends because I had outputted so much energy and effort for what? I couldn't just receive that I'm hired or I'm working with this person because I'm talented and qualified. No, I have to almost kill myself for that, right? And so when I started doing the work, I had to do a lot of peeling back the layers and really going, why am I believing the lie that I am not enough? Right? What lie am I believing that I have to overcommit and overexert? Right? And setting boundaries and learning how to set boundaries was the best thing that I could ever do for myself. The word no is my superpower. Okay. Um, and time management, all of that. Another fractured identity is the masked identity. I am whoever the room needs me to be. You're one way with your friends, you're one way with your parents, you're one way with your siblings, you're one way at church, you're one way in your business, you're one way when you coach and you counsel, right? What if you could be your authentic self in every room that you entered? When you put on the mask, it's because you don't feel safe, right? You believe the lie that who I am without the mask is not enough. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not smart enough. So I'm going to showboat. I'm going to pretend. I'm going to perform. And I know some of you guys have those friends where you're just like, why are you lying so much? You're doing it to fit in because you're highly insecure. Why can't you just be yourself and trust that you are an amazing human being, right? You have a lot of things to offer. And so I had to go back to what age or when did I first start to believe the lie that I was not enough? Okay. Maybe you live from the self-abandonment identity. You put everybody's needs first. You're basically telling people that your needs don't matter. You're available to everybody. If you need a ride to the airport, if you need to um, do this and do that, and like take on this work assignment and all of that, you're abandoning yourself. You're not setting healthy boundaries. You're overexerting yourself, and you're telling your unconscious mind, "Hey, you don't matter. You never mattered. You only matter if you do this for somebody else. You only matter if you show up for this person." And if you're not careful, resentment continues to build up and you're seething and you're wondering why you're always angry silently. You wonder why um, you're frustrated, right? With people, places, and things. It's because you're not advocating for yourself, right? You're not putting yourself first. And that was me. What about the victim identity? When I started, if you watched my first video, I started when I began to do the work a few years ago and go, okay, I can't go around the trauma. I can't gaslight myself and say it didn't happen. I can no longer be made to feel guilty for bringing it up because the person that was the abuser feels bad, right? I need to deal with it because it's affecting me and it's keeping me stuck. What would happen is I would play the victim. this person did this to me. This is what happened to me, right? And I ended up finding my identity in the things that happened. Again, not to say the trauma didn't happen, the abuse didn't happen, the betrayal didn't happen, the divorce didn't happen, the partnership breakup didn't happen. I'm not saying any of that. But a lot of people end up stuck because they are looking for justice that they probably won't ever get. Okay. And the reason you refuse is also control to let go of what happened is because you think that if you let go of what happened to you, then somehow you're letting everybody else know that it actually really didn't happen. That was me. If I let go that I was abused, if I let go that my coworkers betrayed me, if I let go of that, where is my vindication? But what people don't understand is when you hold on to unforgiveness, when you hold on to bitterness, when you hold on to resentment, it's like you're drinking poison, wishing someone else's. These people are moved on. They are living their best life. They probably don't even realize what they did, right? Or just they don't care. They don't have that emotional EQ, but you're walking around with not only your burden and you're being victimized, but also what the offender did to you. You're also now walking around with what they did to you. And so you can't move. This is where you see tons of addictions, weight gain, shopping addictions, eating addictions, alcohol, drug addictions, right? Because it's so painful to get to that root and wound and then go, okay, close it up. I need to work on closing it up and forgetting. Nope, I rather just numb myself and not deal with the pain, right? I rather just numb myself and continue to be bitter and unforgiving. Again, I've said this in my last video. I highly recommend you read The Body Keeps the Score because you get to see many different cases of people that had entered very traumatic situations, and when they were able to release it, what their body did after that, right? And so, what if you struggle with the control identity? A lot of people struggle with control because either they grew up in a home where it was extremely chaotic and they couldn't control anything around them. So they started controlling other people and other things. Maybe your parents were great, your upbringing was great, but you moved a lot. Well, if you struggle with control, control can come from I had to move a lot, or we didn't have a lot of money. So now I'm just going to control this. Maybe you had a blended family, right? And you didn't like that the family was blended and you didn't like your half siblings or your stepmom or your stepdad. And now you start to control everybody and everything to feel safe because back then you didn't feel safe. Your rights weren't advocated for. Your um your little self wasn't seen and valued. And so because of that, you control so you can have a sense of self. But the problem is no one really wants to be around you because you're controlling them. People try to help you, push them away. You're controlling everybody and everything, right? And it's also hurting you, right? Because there's fear there. When you peel all that back, it's really just a scared little child that if I give up control, what's going to happen? So thank you so much for tuning in today. I am going to be breaking down mother and father wounds in the next video and also taking each fractured identity one by one and going into detail, showing you how that shows up in your life today and then giving you tools on how to break free from that. Click my link in bio. You can check out my social media handles, but more importantly, download the free identity assessment that you can take to see if you are living from a trauma-formed identity. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Have a great day.